The truth always comes out. Portia's secret pregnancy destroys her marriage to Curtis. The walls were closing in on Dr. Portia Robinson, and she knew it. Standing in her office at General Hospital, staring at the positive pregnancy test in her trembling hands, she felt the weight of her choices crushing down on her. Curtis had just walked in moments before, and now she had to hide the truth, at least for a little while longer. But in Port Charles, secrets have a way of exploding at the worst possible moment, and this one was a ticking time bomb. Portia had been here before. Years ago, she had hidden the truth about Trina's paternity from both Marcus Taggart and Curtis, allowing her daughter to grow up believing Taggart was her father when Curtis was actually her biological parent. That lie had nearly destroyed her relationship with Curtis when it finally came out on their wedding day. Now, history was repeating itself in the cruelest way possible. The pregnancy had come at the worst possible time. Just weeks earlier, Portia had reconnected with Curtis during a romantic evening that seemed to promise a new beginning for their troubled marriage. They had made love, declared their commitment to each other, and for a brief moment, everything seemed perfect. But that fragile peace shattered when Curtis called his ex-wife Jordan for help with a family crisis. Portia's jealousy, that old familiar demon, reared its head once again. In a moment of weakness and anger, Portia had turned to Dr. Isaiah Gannon. The handsome transplant surgeon had been circling around her for weeks, offering support and understanding that Curtis seemed unable to provide. What started as a shoulder-to-cry-on quickly escalated into a passionate affair. First in her office, then again on the night Drew Kane was shot. Isaiah had seen something in Portia that made her feel valued in a way Curtis never had. But now she was pregnant, and the timing made it impossible to know which man was the father. She had slept with Curtis on August 18th, then with Isaiah just 10 days later on August 28th, and again on September 2nd. The dates were too close together. Without a DNA test, there was no way to be certain. The weight of deception. For the first few weeks, Portia managed to keep her secret hidden. She confided only in her close friend Elizabeth Baldwin, admitting her fear that Curtis would insist on staying married if he knew about the baby. But that wasn't what Portia wanted anymore. Her heart had begun to shift toward Isaiah, and she was finally ready to let go of Curtis and move forward with her life. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had spent so much of her marriage consumed with jealousy over Jordan, convinced that Curtis still harbored feelings for his ex-wife. And she had been right, Curtis and Jordan did share a lingering connection. But while they had remained faithful to their respective partners, Portia had been the one to actually cross the line. Isaiah, for his part, had been surprisingly understanding about the complicated nature of their relationship. When Portia told him that her marriage to Curtis was over but that they had no official plans for divorce, he had agreed to keep their relationship secret to protect both of their careers at the hospital. He had even invited her to his cabin for a romantic weekend, eager to explore where their connection might lead. But secrets in Port Charles never stay buried for long. The unraveling begins. It started with small things, dizzy spells that Portia couldn't quite hide, morning sickness that struck at inconvenient moments. As a doctor herself, Portia knew she couldn't keep up the charade indefinitely. Isaiah, with his medical training and close proximity to her at the hospital, was bound to notice the symptoms sooner rather than later. Curtis, meanwhile, had begun to have second thoughts about ending their marriage. When he suggested to Portia that they should hold off on getting a divorce, her face betrayed a complex mix of emotions. Curtis believed his practical reasoning would make sense, with the police investigating Drew Kane's shooting and both of them potentially being called as witnesses. Staying married meant they couldn't be forced to testify against each other. What Curtis didn't know was that Portia was carrying a secret that would make staying married even more complicated. She had already decided she wanted out of their relationship, and the pregnancy only made her more desperate to escape. But she also knew Curtis well enough to understand that if he discovered she was pregnant, he would fight to keep their family together, especially after missing out on Trina's early years. Portia found herself at a crossroads. Should she tell Curtis the truth about the pregnancy and risk him insisting they stay together? Should she confide in Isaiah and face his potential reaction to learning he might be a father? Or should she try to handle it all on her own, making decisions that would affect multiple lives without consulting anyone? The truth explodes. But the choice was taken out of Portia's hands when the truth began to leak out in pieces. First, Isaiah grew suspicious when he noticed Portia's symptoms. As a skilled physician himself, he recognized the signs of early pregnancy immediately. When he confronted her, Portia initially tried to deflect, but Isaiah pressed her for the truth. "I'm pregnant," Portia finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't know who the father is." The words hung in the air between them. Isaiah's expression shifted from concern to shock to something deeper, a quiet determination that Portia hadn't expected. Despite the complicated circumstances, Isaiah didn't run. Instead, he assured Portia with 5 simple words that would change everything: "I'm all in on fatherhood." Isaiah explained that regardless of how their romantic relationship evolved, if he turned out to be the biological father, he was ready to step up and be a good dad. He had mentioned before his dreams of having children someday, of passing down the cabin Lucky Spencer had given him to his kids. This wasn't how he had imagined it would happen, but he wasn't going to abandon Portia or the baby. His response both comforted and terrified Portia. She had expected rejection, anger, or at least hesitation. Instead, Isaiah's acceptance made her realize how deeply she had already fallen for him. But it also meant the situation with Curtis was about to become infinitely more complicated. Curtis learns the truth. The revelation came crashing down one afternoon at the hospital. Curtis had stopped by Portia's office to discuss their next steps regarding the divorce proceedings. He had been increasingly suspicious about Portia's evasive behavior and distant demeanor. Something was clearly wrong, but she kept insisting everything was fine. Then Isaiah walked in, unaware that Curtis was there. The tension in the room was immediate and palpable. Curtis noticed the way Isaiah looked at Portia, not with the professional courtesy of a colleague, but with the intimacy of someone who knew her in a much deeper way. And Portia's reaction confirmed his worst suspicions. "What's going on here?" Curtis demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. Portia's carefully constructed walls came crumbling down. Through tears, she confessed everything: the affair with Isaiah, the pregnancy, the uncertainty about paternity. Each word was like a knife twisting in Curtis's heart. He had forgiven her once for lying about Trina's paternity, had rebuilt their marriage on the shaky foundation of trust after that betrayal. And now she had done it again. But this time felt different. This wasn't a decades-old secret finally coming to light. This was active deception, current betrayal. Portia had not only cheated on him but had gotten pregnant and hidden it from him, all while pretending to work on their marriage. "You slept with him?" Curtis's voice cracked with emotion. "After everything we've been through? After I forgave you for lying about Trina?" "Curtis, please," Portia reached for him, but he pulled away. "And you don't even know if the baby is mine or his?" The realization hit him like a physical blow. "How could you do this? How could you put us through this again?" Curtis's fury. The Curtis who had always been patient, understanding, and willing to forgive was nowhere to be found. In his place stood a man pushed beyond his breaking point. All the resentment he had swallowed over the years, about Portia's jealousy of Jordan, her constant need for reassurance, her pattern of deception, came pouring out in a torrent of anger. "You stood there for months accusing me of still having feelings for Jordan, of not being committed to our marriage," Curtis said, his voice shaking with rage. "And the whole time, you were the one who couldn't be trusted. You were the one sneaking around, sleeping with another man." Isaiah stepped forward, attempting to defend Portia. "Curtis, man, you need to calm down. Don't you dare tell me to calm down." Curtis whirled on Isaiah, his fists clenched. "You came into my life, into my marriage, and you destroyed it. And for what? A woman who lies as easily as she breathes." "That's not fair," Isaiah shot back. "Your marriage was already broken when Portia and I got together. She came to me because you kept pushing her away." The accusation stung because Curtis knew there was some truth to it. He had been distant, had spent time with Jordan when Portia needed him, had put his wife on an impossible pedestal and then punished her for not living up to it. But acknowledging his own failures didn't make Portia's betrayal any easier to swallow. The final confrontation. Over the following days, Curtis became increasingly consumed by his anger and hurt. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything except the image of Portia and Isaiah together. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw them in her office, in Isaiah's cabin, in all the places they had hidden their affair while he remained faithful to his marriage vows. Portia tried repeatedly to reach out to Curtis, to explain, to apologize, to beg for his forgiveness. She showed up at his door late at night, sent him countless text messages, cornered him at the hospital. Each time, her pleas became more desperate. "Curtis, please, just listen to me," she begged during one particularly heated confrontation. "I made a mistake. I was hurt and confused and I wasn't thinking clearly. But we can get through this. We've gotten through worse before." "No," Curtis said firmly, his voice cold and final. "We haven't gotten through worse. This is worse. You didn't just lie to me, you betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. You slept with another man and got pregnant, and you don't even have the decency to know whose child you're carrying. It could be yours." Portia cried. "The baby could be yours, Curtis. Don't you want to know? Don't you want to be there?" For a moment, Curtis wavered. The thought of another child, of experiencing all the moments he had missed with Trina, the pregnancy, the birth, the first steps and words, tugged at something deep inside him. But then he looked at Portia, really looked at her, and all he could see was the lies. "Even if the baby is mine," Curtis said slowly, "I can't do this anymore. I can't be married to someone I don't trust. Someone who has proven over and over again that she's willing to lie to me about the most important things in our lives." "Curtis, no, please." Portia reached for him again, tears streaming down her face. "I'm done, Portia," Curtis said with a finality that made her blood run cold. "We're getting divorced. And once that baby is born, we'll do a DNA test. If I'm the father, I'll be there for my child. But you and me? We're finished. Moving forward." The divorce proceedings began immediately. Curtis was ruthless in his determination to end the marriage as quickly as possible. He moved out of their beach house, refused to take Portia's calls, and communicated with her only through lawyers. The warmth and patience he had always shown her was gone, replaced by icy detachment. Portia was devastated. Despite everything, despite her affair with Isaiah, despite her doubts about the marriage, she hadn't truly believed Curtis would leave her. She had taken his forgiveness for granted, assumed that his love for Trina and their family would be enough to keep them together. Now she was facing the reality of losing him forever. Isaiah, true to his word, remained by Portia's side throughout the ordeal. As their relationship evolved from a secret affair to something more open and committed, Portia found herself genuinely falling for him in a way she hadn't expected. He didn't put her on a pedestal the way Curtis had, didn't expect her to be perfect. He accepted her flaws, her mistakes, her complicated history, and still chose to stay. "I know this isn't how either of us imagined things would go," Isaiah told her during a quiet moment at his cabin. "But I meant what I said. Whether this baby is mine or Curtis's, I'm here. For you, for the baby, for whatever comes next." As the weeks passed and Portia's pregnancy became more visible, the tension in Port Charles reached a fever pitch. Trina struggled to process the news that her parents were divorcing and that she would soon have a younger sibling whose paternity was in question. Jordan watched from the sidelines, her own feelings about Curtis complicated by the knowledge that he was newly single and hurting. The DNA test loomed on the horizon, a reckoning that would determine the future for all of them. But regardless of the results, one thing was already clear: Portia's choices had irrevocably changed the course of multiple lives. Curtis had made his decision to walk away, and no amount of begging or explaining would change his mind. In the end, Portia found herself exactly where many had predicted she would, caught between two men, pregnant with a child of uncertain paternity, and facing the consequences of her deceptions. Whether she and Isaiah could build something real and lasting from the wreckage of her marriage remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: the truth had finally come out, and nothing would ever be the same again. Next, we will learn about the dramatic twists surrounding Willow Corinthos and her evolving path on the iconic ABC soap. In a captivating recent chat with Soaps.com, Caitlin McMullen, the talented portrayer of Willow Corinthos, delved deeply into the unpredictable trajectory her character has navigated since joining the canvas of General Hospital. As she approaches her 9th year in the role, marking yet another impressive anniversary amid the show's storied legacy, McMullen expressed a mix of gratitude and astonishment at how profoundly Willow has transformed. What began as a relatively straightforward introduction has blossomed into a multifaceted saga filled with heartbreak, redemption arcs, and unforeseen alliances that keep viewers glued to their screens. This milestone isn't just about time served, it's a testament to the depth McMullen has infused into Willow, turning her into one of Port Charles's most resilient yet vulnerable figures. Fans have witnessed Willow evolve from a peripheral player into a central force, influencing major families like the Quartermaines and the Cassadines through her choices and connections. Reflecting on Willow's debut back in 2017, McMullen reminisced about the initial vision for her character as a compassionate educator emerging from the shadows of a secretive cult upbringing. Willow arrived in Port Charles as Harmony Miller's daughter, carrying the weight of Dawn of Day's manipulative doctrines that had shaped her early worldview into one of quiet rebellion and hidden scars. Picture a young woman stepping into a new life, her classroom becoming a sanctuary where she poured her nurturing spirit into students, all while grappling with the lingering echoes of indoctrination that made trust a rare commodity. No one on the writing team could have foreseen the labyrinthine path ahead, where Willow's innate goodness would clash repeatedly with the town's ruthless undercurrents, leading to pivotal moments that redefined her identity. This foundational layer added a psychological richness to Willow, making her early scenes a blend of warmth and subtle foreboding, as if the cult's influence was a ticking bomb waiting to detonate in unexpected ways. One of the most harrowing chapters in Willow's arc unfolded when her impulsive decisions shattered the fragile foundation of her marriage to Harrison Chase. What started as a passionate union, forged in the heat of shared secrets and mutual support during the nurses' ball aftermath, crumbled under the pressure of Willow's unresolved traumas and external manipulations by foes like Nina Reeves. The fallout was explosive. Willow's affair revelations not only exposed deep-seated insecurities but also triggered a cascade of betrayals that rippled through the Port Charles elite. Losing custody of her twins, Wiley and Amelia, born from her surrogacy for the late Nellie Benson, proved devastating, stripping Willow of her maternal anchor and plunging her into a vortex of grief and isolation. Imagine the courtroom battles, laden with tearful testimonies from Michael Corinthos and Sasha Gilmore, highlighting how Willow's past cult ties were weaponized against her, painting her as unstable despite her fierce protectiveness. This period marked a dark pivot, where Willow's once steady moral compass began to waver, setting the stage for even bolder missteps. The stalking incident at the Quartermaine mansion stands out as a chilling escalation in Willow's downward spiral, a moment that showcased the raw desperation fueling her actions. Driven by paranoia over Daisy Gilmore's potential threat to her fragile family unit, fueled by whispers of corporate espionage tied to ELQ Industries, Willow resorted to surveillance tactics that crossed ethical lines, lurking in the opulent gardens under moonlit shadows. This wasn't mere jealousy, it was a manifestation of her cult-honed survival instincts clashing with modern realities, leading to confrontations that exposed vulnerabilities in the Quartermaine dynasty itself. Edward Quartermaine's ghostly influence seemed to loom in the background, as family secrets unraveled during heated arguments, with Brooke Lynn Quartermaine caught in the crossfire. McMullen has hinted in past discussions how embodying this intensity pushed her to explore layers of obsession, drawing from real psychological studies on trauma responses to make Willow's unraveling feel authentically human and tragically relatable. Fast forward to the present, and Willow finds herself ensnared in a nightmarish frame-up for the attempted murder of Drew Kane, a plot twist that has electrified General Hospital's narrative engine. The incident unfolded during a stormy night at the Metro Court, where a poison chalice, laced with a rare toxin sourced from Cassadine Labs, nearly claimed Drew's life, pinning suspicion squarely on Willow due to fabricated evidence linking her to the crime scene. Her arrest sent shockwaves through Port Charles, with handcuffs clicking in a dimly lit precinct as Sonny Corinthos vowed to uncover the real culprit, possibly a vengeful Esme prince or a shadowy Metro Court insider. This accusation has inverted Willow's world, forcing her to confront not just legal battles but the erosion of her hard-won relationships. Michael's unwavering support clashes with the skepticism from figures like Carly Spencer, who recalls Willow's past deceptions. The frame-up adds a thriller element, complete with anonymous tips and surveillance footage that teases larger conspiracies involving the WSB, keeping audiences theorizing about Willow's innocence and the puppet master behind it all. McMullen's recollections of her inaugural day on the General Hospital set paint a vivid picture of wide-eyed excitement mingled with palpable anxiety. Paired with veterans Rebecca Herbst, Elizabeth Weber, and Roger Howarth, Franco Baldwin, now Austin Holt in Echoes of the Past, she navigated her first blocking rehearsal with a script clutched tightly, her heart racing amid the bustling studio lights and prop-laden wards. Those early interactions weren't just professional, they became mentorship moments, with Herbst sharing tips on sustaining emotional depth across long shoots and Howarth imparting wisdom on layering complexity into seemingly villainous turns. Over the ensuing years, McMullen has blossomed, delivering powerhouse performances in arcs like the Baby Switch saga and the COVID storyline, where Willow's frontline nurse role amplified themes of sacrifice and societal strain. This growth has allowed her to tackle soapy extravaganzas, from masquerade ball intrigues to rooftop chases, with a seasoned poise that elevates every scene, earning her accolades from critics and a devoted fanbase that celebrates her nuance. At the heart of Willow's current turmoil lies a profound sense of disorientation, as McMullen eloquently described in her interview, emphasizing how her character navigates a maze of doubt and fractured loyalties. For Willow, there's still so much uncharted territory ahead, McMullen noted, her voice carrying the weight of empathy for this embattled soul. She's on a quest to truly define her essence amid the chaos, questioning her place in this whirlwind existence that's tested every fiber of her being. This introspection resonates deeply, mirroring Willow's battles with identity post-cult, post-motherhood, and now post-arrest, where allies like T.J. Ashford offer glimmers of hope while betrayals from unexpected quarters deepen the isolation. Inventing pathways forward, one can envision Willow delving into therapy sessions with Dr. Portia Robinson, uncovering suppressed memories that tie back to her dawn-of-day origins, potentially revealing a hidden sibling or a long-lost artifact that shifts the power dynamics in Port Charles. Despite the chaos enveloping her, McMullen's insights hint at a silver lining for Willow, a chance to reclaim agency and steer toward brighter horizons through deliberate, empowering decisions. Envision Willow rallying her inner strength during jailhouse visits, strategizing with legal eagle Diane Miller to dismantle the frame-up by tracing the toxin's origins to a black market dealer connected to Victor Cassidy's remnants. Positive shifts could include mending fences with Nina, transforming rivalry into reluctant alliance against a common foe, or even channeling her teaching background into community outreach programs that rebuild her reputation. Such evolution would not only redeem Willow's arc but also weave her deeper into the fabric of General Hospital's ensemble, perhaps sparking a romance subplot with a reformed Dex Heller or a professional pivot toward investigative journalism exposing Port Charles' corruption. This optimistic trajectory underscores the soap's enduring appeal. Characters like Willow aren't defined by their falls but by their resilient climbs. Yet, before any redemption unfolds, Willow must navigate the treacherous waters of her ongoing legal saga, where each court appearance promises fireworks and revelations. ABC General Hospital spoilers tease mounting evidence that could exonerate her, including a surprise witness like Felicia Scorpio who stumbles upon deleted security logs. As the case intensifies, alliances fracture and secrets spill, with the Corinthos family mobilizing resources in a high-stakes bid for justice. Stay locked into our channel for the latest bombshells on Willow's fight, because in Port Charles, no twist is too wild, and Willow's story is far from over. Her future brims with potential for triumph amid the turmoil.